Notice I said school improvement. I have the most awesome job in the world. I coach principals whose schools are on the state's designated list. I'm solely responsible for school improvement. Now, our focus this year, as our principals meet, we have about 13 schools currently that are on the list. As we meet, our focus this year has been on one, a shared vision of teaching and learning. You may have attended that session earlier in the Godot ILC conference. Two, acceleration. How are we accelerating students? How do we move students? We don't have the defeatist mindset and hold students back, but how do we accelerate them? Three, student clarity. You will hear a lot about student clarity today. MTSS for teachers. How do we tier our teachers to provide differentiated support? Then leading PLCs, improving coaches' performance. Those are instructional coaches. Coaches, you have a major job and a major task. And last but not least, integrity and reconciliation. Now, this slide right here means a lot to us. Each meeting that we meet with our principals, this slide is the fourth slide that we represent because we want to remember where we currently are. And I'm going to ask you, as you're sitting here, you think about where you are. Our superintendent gave us a charge. He said that he wanted the district to have a goal of greater than 70 CCRPI. That means collectively. And then doing the math, he noticed that if every school jumped 2 points on the next CCRPI, then the district will have an average of greater than 70. But how many of you know that sitting here right now, we're on the state's designated list? That means hashtag more than 2. We can't settle for 2 points. We got to push a little harder. We got to push a little more. We got to pull more students in than other schools are doing. Hashtag more than 2. So we wear that. We take that to heart, that we're grinding every single day because we got to get more than 2 points on the CCRPI. All the components, and even this year, with only content mastery, we're still having to grind. Then, on the other side of that brick wall, you see hashtag daily evidence. Hashtag daily evidence. This represents, this is what we wear like on the back of our shirt. Hashtag daily evidence. How do we know every single day that students in our classrooms, students in our schools, students in our county are truly more successful today than they were yesterday? I'm asking you the same question. How do you know? Do you truly know that the students in your classroom are better today than they were yesterday? Then lastly, if you look at the bottom, the art of education is a team sport. Got my team with me. It's a team sport, not an isolated event. I wholeheartedly believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that. Now, I want to do something with you. I want to walk the pyramid. In our district, we talk about the results pyramid. Listen to me clearly. Every student in your class, when you think about hashtag daily evidence, they either you have evidence that they're successful, or you don't. That's a result. Every day in your class when you're afforded the opportunity to have students, you get a result. But now, when you walk the pyramid says that each and every day you offer a certain experience for every child. Then you offer beliefs. Because of your experiences, those experiences foster beliefs in your classroom. It even fosters the teacher's beliefs. It fosters the student's beliefs. Principals, what you do with the experience that you provide fosters your teacher's beliefs. Then, with these beliefs, what do? Those beliefs influence actions. Our beliefs influence actions. Actions are what we do, either in the school or in the classroom. And then as a result of those actions, we get results. And again, those results go back to hashtag daily evidence. Either we are successful for every child or that we're not. But the question is, you have to determine that. And you have to have a concrete answer on how to determine that. So here's an activity that we do with our principals and they've done with some of their teachers. I split the results pyramid in half. And we talk about a fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Why are we talking about growth mindset? Because it takes a growth mindset to get out to be a strong Tier 1 teacher. It takes a growth mindset to get in and to really believe in the principles of FIP. It takes a growth mindset to move every student and to get hashtag daily evidence for every student. It takes a growth mindset. So again, I ask you this. I want you to think of an activity this year. Think about the results pyramid. I want you to think this year of a day that was unsuccessful, where you had unfavorable results, where the results were you did not get the results you wanted. Now let's backtrack that results pyramid. Think about when they walked in, whether it was a principal, teachers walked into your building, or teachers, students walked in your class, and you got an unfavorable result. What experience was provided? Because whatever that experience was set the beliefs at that specific time. It set the beliefs in your building. It set the beliefs in the classroom. Do students truly think they can learn? Do students truly think that they can hit high, rigorous work? Whatever experience you're offering sets the belief. Then as a result of that belief, it influences the actions. What are the actions that each of your students are doing every single day to get the result? What were the actions what actions were the students doing for you to get those unfavorable results? I ask you that, and I ask you to own it, because school improvement is about self-reflection. Growth mindset is about self-reflection. What do you do? Are you looking at the mirror at what you're doing? So now that you have your unfavorable results, and you know the beliefs and the actions, I want you now to step on the other side. What results do you want? What is the results that you want? Then, what experience do you need to provide? What belief do you need? And then what actions must you do to get the results that you're looking for? That's something to think about. If we were together, we would do an activity on that right now. But because we're virtual, we're going to let you think about it. We'll send some work with Dr. Johnson to make sure that you have an opportunity to reflect. Self-reflection is the theme of the day. I see you in the chat box. So now, how do we get out the fixed mindset? Why do we stay in a fixed mindset? One, it's because we focus on the what, but don't understand the how. We don't know how to change. Remember, we're going to a growth mindset so that we can implement fit with fidelity, so that students will grow, so that hashtag daily evidence, all of our kids are learning. So why do we stay in a fixed mindset? One, we're focusing on the what, but don't know the how, and we definitely don't know the why. Number two, we don't see progress fast enough, so we go away from it. We don't see progress fast enough, and you make the wrong conclusion as a result. Number three, we don't see ourselves as turnaround educators. I want y'all to listen to me. If you don't take anything back from what I say, I want you to think about this. As a principal, I was a turnaround principal. But when I hired people, I hired turnaround APs, I hired turnaround instructional coaches, I hired turnaround counselors, I hired turnaround teachers, I hired turnaround custodians, I hired turnaround nutrition. Everyone had to have the mindset of being a turnaround educator. So you got to see yourself as that. Self-fulfilled prophecy creates unhealthy or healthy habits. What you speak about yourself creates the habit. Now, working with the growth mindset. Seek people the way you want to progress. Seek people progressing the way you want to. That's a growth mindset. You don't know it all. You got to have an open mindset. Who is it that you see in your building that's doing some things that you want to do? Seek after that person. Go find that person. That's a growth mindset, because when you seek them, that says, hey, I want to be better. Number two, running from it will not save you. See it through. That's one of my favorite poems. You can't run from it. Think about this. The thing you are running from and giving the most pushback is the area you probably need to learn the most. You're running from it, so you probably really need to learn more about it. That just may be an indicator. Number three, it's not okay not to know. No, I'm sorry. It's okay not to know. It's not okay not to grow. Track your own growth. Do you have hashtag daily evidence for your own life? As an educator, as the lead learners in the building, do you grow? It's okay not to know. It's not okay not to grow. The teachers got to grow for students to grow. Growth mindset. We're moving in the field shortly. Now, back to this again. Hashtag daily evidence. Each morning when I drive my daughter to school, before she gets out of the car, whether I'm driving her and her friends, I ask them one question. hey, what's the goal of the day? She might not like me asking every day because she say, to be better today than I was yesterday. That's right. Hashtag daily evidence. We expect for students to be better today than they were yesterday. So my question to you is, when the students walk into your classroom, when the students experience that 50-minute lesson, when they experience that 90-minute lesson, do you truly know that every student was better as a result of stepping into your classroom? Do you really know that? The art of education is a team sport, not an isolated event. We can't do this alone. Now, think about this. Successful people do what other people do occasionally. I'm going to read that one more time. Successful people do consistently what other people do occasionally. That's from Sean Covey. Think about it in education. What are the most successful people doing in the building that you just sometimes do? You may be the consistent one. What do you do that other people just occasionally do? If it's fitness, why is that guy or that lady so much more fit? What are they doing more consistent than what I'm doing? Wealth. Why are these people so much more wealthier than I am? I read something last night and it said that wealthy people read 5 to 6 hours a day. That's why I'm poor. Because I haven't read 5 to 6 hours a day. I figured it out last night. Then belief, your belief in your religious belief. Why are some people seem to be prospering more than where you are? What is it that they're consistently doing that you may not be doing? It fits life. Now, habits. This is where we're getting good. Your habits. You are what you repeatedly do. Your staff and students reflect what you repeatedly do. The capacity of your teaching and leadership is directly aligned to the quality of your habits. It's directly aligned to the quality of your habits. You set the tone for students. What you repeatedly do will determine whether you have hashtag daily evidence or you don't have any evidence at all. It's all about you. Mediocrity is not okay. Angela Butts is not okay. Listen, you all, goals don't determine your success. The systems which influence your habits do. It's all about the systems that you have that are creating the habits. I'm going to tell you this. It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday evening when school is over with. It's 3 o'clock. Actually, it's 3:18. But I want to challenge you to this. It's about the system. It's about you developing your system for habits. Right now in sports, students, players, and coaches are doing what they call spring training. What are they doing? They're doing spring training to prepare and to show players the new habits that they want them to have when the season starts. In the summer, basketball camp, summer football camp, soccer, baseball, everybody's training in the off season to prepare the players for what they need when the season starts. So how be it can athletes do it and coaches do it and educators with the most important job in the world? Why can't we do it right now? Yes, I know it's 3 o'clock, but it's spring training. Let's take this right now. Let's take ownership of the spring training right now and let's make it happen. What's the difference between 211 and 212? What's the difference, y'all? Everybody says 1. It's 1. But in this particular illustration, it's 1 degree. 212 degrees is the temperature that it takes to boil water. When water gets to 212, it begins to boil. The difference between 211 and 212. So I'm asking you. Thank you, Justin. He knew it. I'm asking you. Are you 1 degree away from making excitement and engagement happen in your class? Are you 1 degree away from 211 to 212? Just 1 degree. The teacher, the educator is the most important person there. You have to do it. Go a little further. Get it. 212 degrees. Guess what? We set the temperature. We are thermostats. We are not thermometers. We are thermostats. We set it to 212. We go and we hit hard for 212. Now, with that being said, I'm going to move on to this. Y'all, you see all this up here on the screen? This is some BS. And y'all know what BS represents, right? Blanket statements. Blanket statement. That's what BS represents. This is stuff that people call the kids that we serve. This is stuff that people call our kids. That's some BS, some blanket statements. We can't address our kids in this fashion or this manner. We have to get out and we have to know and we have to own our kids. We have to differentiate for our kids because these are blanket statements. I got that from Stephen Furtick, one of my favorite YouTube things I watch on YouTube. But he talked about those blanket statements all the time. We got to get out of there. Don't allow people to make blanket statements about your kids. Get in and own them as educators, as learners. Now, what kind of educator do you want to become? In other words, who do you want to become? Are you a turnaround educator? See, you got to start saying that right now. I'm a turnaround teacher. I'm a turnaround principal. I'm a turnaround assistant principal. I'm a turnaround coach. You have to have that mentality. Your identity shapes your actions. How you respond is how you see yourself. Now we get into fifth. Y'all, this is good. What you're going to hear today as we move into the fifth, say, hopefully I got your mind right to sit back and to really, really listen to the four speakers we have here. Formative instructional practices. It says, formative instructional practices, better known as FIP, are intentional behaviors that teachers and students use to make decisions about learning. Intentional behaviors used to make decisions about learning. Formative instructional practices are the formal and informal ways that teachers and students gather and respond to evidence. The most important thing on this slide is probably in the smallest writing, but I put it on the side for you. Chapius, I hope I said his name correctly, 2009 stated, it is not the information that is formative, or it's not the instrument that is formative. It is the use of the information gathered. It is the use of how do you gather and collect the information. That's what FIP is about. That's where we're going to CAP. That's where we're going, Bibb. We're using information to inform us on where we need to go. If we had time, I would ask you a question and say, this is four corners, activity. We would get it out and say, what's the most important part? What's the most important part of this of the instructional framework? The opening, the transition, the work session, or the closing? What's the most important part? I'll have you go there, I'll have you cite textual evidence, and I'll have you to prepare your argument based on your groups. And then we'll talk about it. But what you will ultimately see is that every group will start deciding that we can't separate it. It's the instructional framework. We got to have it in its entirety. So, if you haven't used this document, I want you to just take the time to go through this. Just take the time to go through this. This is from Godot, but you got to have hashtag daily evidence in each section of this. And this form right here represents where we're going today, the instructional framework. Engagement is not entertainment. I'm not talking about entertainment. I'm talking about every minute matters for a cognitive engagement to impact student learning. Are we engaging students cognitively? Can they truly manipulate the standards multiple ways? That's what mastery is. And before I turn over to this awesome principal, Dan Dewolf, he's our Godot School Improvements Effective Specialist. He does a lot of work with all of us on student clarity. He said, although there are many strategies to improve teacher instruction and to increase student achievement, research has shown implementing the components of teacher clarity with fidelity has the potential to not only affect teacher practice, but more importantly, to impact student learning and increase student achievement. So with that being said, we're about to meet a phenomenal teacher, Mr. Thomas. I want you to watch his video and watch how he opens his class lesson.
4 words in our vocabulary. Our first one is opinion. Julia. Our second one is essay. Nine. Our third one is sideline. Verbal. And our last one is iterative. Talk like this. Yeah, 7 words. 7.
Before we get to the gym, I have a question for you. How many of you have ever changed a person's mind by sharing your opinion? Have you ever had to share your opinion in order to change somebody's mind? For example, I was on vacation. We were debating whether we were going to go out to eat or whether we were going to ask my mother to cook. And I shared my opinion. I wanted pizza. And after I shared my opinion, the whole family decided we're going out for pizza. Raise your hand if you've ever had a situation like that when you shared your opinion. Have you ever shared your opinion about a sports team? I think this team is the best. You should be on this team. Share with your neighbor a time when you shared your opinion with someone. Go, wait, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Derrick Thomas. I am a teacher at the Southfield Elementary School here in the big city of Macon, Georgia. And I am grateful for the opportunity to share on the opening of the lesson. I am additionally grateful to Mr. Steve Jones for allowing me to share with these wonderful instructors and for the opportunity to sharpen you and for you all in response to sharpen us. So thank you to DeKalb County for being here with us on today. My assignment on today is to talk about the opening of the lesson. The video that you saw was my attempt to engage students from the beginning of instruction. And I want to begin with a quote on teacher and student clarity from Corwin. It says, "Teaching that is organized and intentional brings a forthrightness and fairness to the classroom because student learning is based on transparent expectations. And when we are clear," I repeat that, when we are clear, our students can better plan and predict, set goals, and acquire a stronger sense of how to judge their own progress. So, are we all aboard? I have a dangerous habit that turned into an even more dangerous habit. This habit is I get in my car and I race to my destination. I mean, when I'm going somewhere, I'm going somewhere. It's okay when I'm by myself because I don't have any passengers. I can hop in the car and put the car in reverse and go about my merry way. However, it becomes extremely dangerous when I have passengers riding along with me. On one particular Sunday, this happened. It was after Sunday dinner. You know how it is when you're a teacher. You want to eat with your family, and then you just want to go home and kind of settle in and prepare for the week of instruction. So I was in a rush to get home. I asked my wife and my children to come on, and in my assessment, I saw my wife was in the car, and I looked back and I saw that 2 of my children were in the car, and I assumed everybody was in. When I assumed that everyone was in, I put my vehicle in reverse. As soon as I put the car in reverse, my wife shouted for me to stop. As it turns out, I was rushing. And in my hastiness, I didn't make sure all the children were in the vehicle. I had 2 children in the vehicle and 1 child hanging outside the vehicle, still trying to strap in. So I had to put the car in park and learn to slow down. The good news is, since then, I've actually learned to slow down to make sure that everyone is strapped in for the journey. However, how many times did this occur in the classroom every day? We as teachers, we rush to our destination. We're in a rush to teach. We're excited about our lesson and our preparation. We're excited about our activators and our openers. And we don't take the time to make sure that all the children are strapped in for the instructional journey. So the question is, what's at stake when we rush? What's at stake when we rush into the lesson and we don't take our time to ensure that everybody is strapped in for the journey? Think about these 4 things. qualitative instruction versus quantitative instruction. That means, am I doing just a bunch of talking and nobody's getting it, or is everyone engaged and listening? Think about this, authentic engagement versus mere compliance. When you think about engagement versus compliance, we must not confuse silence with scholarship. Because a classroom can be quiet and no one can be learning. They're just simply being quiet because you have excellent classroom management, but you have failed to engage the student. Think about this. All students can achieve versus some students will achieve. We all know this. There are students in every class that regardless of how you present as an instructor, they're going to get it because they're just going to get it. However, we don't want to present lessons for just a select few. We want to present lessons in a way that every child can be on board. We want to have those formative instructional practices in place as we prepare with our students in mind. Then think about this last one, what's at stake? Excitement versus burnout and boredom. Do you want children to dread coming to your class? Do you want to dread teaching? Or do you want excitement in your class for the students and the teachers? That's how we get burnt out, because we wonder, what am I doing wrong? What am I not doing? What practices do I need to implement in order to make sure that all of our students are on board? So in an effort to get everybody on board to cultivate teacher and student clarity, each day our instructional journey begins with answering 3 important questions. Y'all ready for the questions? Question number 1, what are we learning today? Question number 2, why are we learning it? Then question number 3, you see it, how will we know we have learned it? Question number 1, what are we learning today? Answering this question requires the teacher to break down the standard into student-friendly language. No, this is not going to happen on a whim or on the fly. This type of preparation happens when we actually sit down and think about what we are learning, when we dig into the language of the standard and break down that vocabulary so that students can get on board. The second question, why are we learning it? The answer to this question should provide students the opportunity to discuss real-world connections to the standard. For example, we are learning how to rewrite a narrative using key details to improve our writing so that our stories are more interesting to the reader. Then you make them start a conversation with the students and say, how many of you have ever closed a book because it was boring? Or how many of you have ever changed a channel because what you were watching was boring? Then say, we want to write in a way where the reader can be interested in our writing. Then question number 3, how will we know we have learned it? We should teach with the end in mind, and that will be discussed by my comrades. Additionally, students should be inspired to take ownership for working toward a specific product. I said a specific product. For example, we will know that we have learned it when we can use details from the passage, Dr. Doolittle, to rewrite, discuss, and or illustrate the story using only details of the story that involve Sarah. Many of you may recognize this assignment from the end of year resources, the milestone resources. That's where I pulled this from. So as we release ownership, we should have things in place for clarity. To cultivate ownership, we should cultivate it through clear expectations. This will come through passing out things such as narrative writer's checklist. This takes the responsibility off of the teacher and puts the responsibility on the student to know exactly what is expected of them. Again, we want that clear, transparent expectations. When you go over the narrative writer's checklist, when you have them read over it, when you have them discuss it, when you have them read on their own, you're then transferring ownership from the teacher to the student. Another way to cultivate ownership through clear expectations is to have exemplars. To have examples. I know as a teacher you say, I don't want to give them the answer because that takes away the fun. No, you want to give them the answers because you want them to know what they're supposed to know. So a great way to cultivate ownership through clear expectations is to give them samples and exemplars of other work which can be seen on the screen. As I close, think about this. Are you wondering, is everyone all aboard? Or do you know that everyone is all aboard? We should take our time in the beginning to ensure that every student is strapped in for the instructional journey. And as a teacher, I know we say, I don't have time. Well, you don't have time not to. You know what? I'd rather have 10 minutes of quality instruction than to have 70 minutes of me just running my mouth and the students not getting it. So think about this. All aboard or all aboard? I'll close with a quote from Fletcher. It says, every day, classrooms everywhere are lit with the frenetic energy of students teaching one another to say words, understanding concepts, learning formulas. Meaningful student involvement embraces that energy by guiding students through the process of learning about learning, learning about teaching, and teaching each other. So what you saw at the beginning of that video was my attempt to engage all students and to make sure that they are all aboard. Thank you for listening. We'll now have Ms. Harper to come in and talk about the work session.
Awesome. And what you saw in that video were habits. That was hashtag daily evidence. Anytime you walk into that classroom, the opening, that's how it looks. And right now, you all, we have an opportunity to hear from Ms. Ashley Harper. Ms. Harper, come on up. We had an opportunity to have Dr. Stephanie Johnson come to our district. We visited several schools, and we went into this one particular class, and Dr. Stephanie Johnson was just blown away. She sent out several tweets about the engagement in her classroom. I mean, it was awesome. And again, that's what happens in her classroom. So she's going to talk to us about the work session.
Thank you, Mr. Steve Jones. I humbly accept this opportunity. And thank you also to Bibb County for being with us. So I've been tasked to speak about engaging students during the work session. Teaching bell to bell does not mean standing in front of the classroom talking at the students for 50 minutes, but rather to engage the students in learning for 50 minutes. Now, just for a moment, think about that statement. The story of my life. I'm a brand new teacher, excited about teaching, engaging my students, making sure they know the standard, the learning target, the success criteria, make sure I have implemented and included the DOK challenge questions, the essential questions. I've done this wonderful math presentation for my students, and I'm ready to share it with them because it's great, it's awesome. I've taken the time to prepare. I've taken the time to practice. I've even taken the time to make sure I made my notes. But the story of my life began when I presented that lesson. The lesson was awesome. The presentation was there. But the one main ingredient that I left out, the entire time when I'm talking with my students, and I'm on and on and on, and I'm talking, and when I'm talking at my students, and I'm constantly talking to them on and on and on, at least maybe 30, 40, 50, if not longer. The main ingredient that I forgot to include was my students. That was the purpose of the lesson, to engage my student. But this presentation, it was for me. It was for me. Now, educators, think about in your work session. How many times have you prepared for a lesson? How many times when you know that lesson is excellent? How many times that you wish at that time when you're presenting that lesson that you get an observation from your principal or a teacher or someone? But even when you're presenting, you're talking at the students and not to them. You never once stop to think about, does he have a question? What are you thinking? Why are you making that face? You see it, but you don't stop. you continue because you really want to get that message out. You want the students to be engaged, but you forget to include the students. Student engagement is essential for student learning. It's an opportunity to open a door of opportunities for our students, for academic achievement. Children close their eyes to advice, but open their eyes to examples. This student that you see, this student is actually sitting on the floor because I believe in order to be engaged, you need to be comfortable. No student learns when they're uncomfortable. No student learns when they are distracted. No student learns when they can't see the board or someone's in their way or this, that, another. We've all been there. So I make sure my students are comfortable. One of my classroom rules is sit on the floor, take off your shoes, get comfortable, because we're here to learn. We're here to make sure you get the opportunity to learn with me and I get the opportunity to learn with you. One of the quotes that I found when I was doing research, it was from Kathy Ward Cameron, and she states, a curriculum is only as good as the teachers implement it. Well, let's turn that around for a second. Instead of saying curriculum, let's say lesson. A lesson is only as good as the teachers implement it. How good are we teachers? How excited are we to present our lesson? How engaging are we? Or are we asking our kids, do you have a question? What are your thoughts? What would you like to know? Do you understand what is expected? Student engagement during academic instruction is critical for promoting positive academics and behavior outcomes. Behavior outcomes. Now, how many times have we been in a classroom, and I think all of us can contest to this, and you're presenting this wonderful lesson, but you always have one or two students playing in the background, off task, unfocused. You've asked them several times to shh, hush. You've asked them to open their books. The book's not open. The pencil's on the floor. They're even moving around unexpectedly. How many times has that student engagement left the room for some of our students? But the one thing I challenge us to do, don't lose focus on involving those students. In my classroom, those are the students I call on. Those are the students that I ask questions to. Those are the students I make sure I give them all the attention that they need, because I need every student to be engaged. A distraction is only a distraction if you allow it to be a distraction. In my classroom, I don't even feed into that behavior. I don't. I draw to that behavior because I need every student to learn. One of the things that I enjoy about my math class, because I'm a 5th grade math teacher, and I love math, but one of the things that I do every single day is think aloud. Now you might say, what is think aloud? Because when I first heard those words, I wasn't sure. But think aloud is teacher vocalizing their internal thinking. It's talking, it's speaking out loud. It's sharing your thoughts. It's sharing your thoughts, your ideas, using phrases like, I think, I believe, I predict, I understand. I encourage my students to do the same. Because as we gradually release the responsibility to the students, we need students to understand and to think to a higher caliber. In order to do that, they need to be able to think out loud. They need to be able to manipulate the materials. If you notice on my sheet here, on my slide, you'll notice where it says faded work examples. This is just one example that I use in my class. Faded work examples are an essential aspect of the we do stage. With faded work examples, if you notice my 2-digit problem here, during this process, I complete some of the steps. Now granted, we're in the stage of we do. So therefore, I should not be the only one working. So the second part, once I complete some of the steps, allowing our students to complete the remaining steps. Not giving them all the answers, but giving them the opportunity to expand on answers, to expand on that prior knowledge. The examples are faded as you start by completing many of the steps yourself and progressively get your students to more steps with each example. Ideally, we want our students to continue learning. Therefore, as we push through to the you do stage, that's when we begin to aggressively monitor them. That's that releasage. And aggressive monitoring, let me be clear, it does not mean just walking around and looking for completion. No, that's not aggressive monitoring. Aggressive monitoring is when you're looking to see who has an idea, who has a thought, who knows how to do exactly what I've tasked them to do, who's not working. Why is there no answers on the page? Where's the misconception? Those are the students that we're trying to target. Those are the ones we want to target. Just like Mr. Thomas said, there are always students that know the answers. There are always students. But those aren't the ones we necessarily want to go to. We want to go to the ones that are not writing anything. And they're also not raising their hands. They're sitting there quietly, well behaved because they don't want you to say anything to them, to ask them a question. They don't want you to even identify them. But that's okay. One of the things that I do in my class is definitely give feedback to my students. Guys, that's so important. Feedback, and it's a quote that I found by Bill Gates. We all need people who give us feedback. That's how we improve. That's how we are going to improve, by allowing each other to literally critique our work, critique what we're doing. If it's working, let's share it. It's not a secret. It should not be a secret. And the answers in our class should not be a secret. So how do we close the learning gap? Student engagement. Get them moving. Get them thinking. If it means that they have to take off their shoes, teachers, allow them to. If it means they have to sit on the floor, allow them to. If it means that you need to give them a stress ball, allow them to, because as we know, we have a dynamic classroom, but we also have a diverse class and group of students. Think out loud. Share your thoughts. That's how students build on comprehension. Gradual release of responsibility practice. The learning strategies, practice them every day. I do, we do, you do. Aggressively monitoring. Do your laps. Walk, make notes. Feedback. Make sure you allow students to reflect. Thank you.
Thank you. Powerful and engaging work session. That's what it's all about. So we've started with an opening, and now we've moved to our work session. And now we're going to come back in and have another phenomenal teacher, Coach Heavenly Whitehead. She's currently the head girls basketball coach here in Northeast, and she's going to show you the work session. She actually had an opportunity to model with Ms. Harper a strategy and skill that she's going to show you today, Math 360. Again, this is about creating habits for students that impact learning. And so, but before we call her, let's look at this small video from Coach Whitehead.
High School in the Bibb County School District. This year has been a big focus on being Tier 1 strong. And the purpose of being Tier 1 strong is to make sure all students stay in that Tier 1 area. So we've come up as a Bibb County district with not only a target that focuses on what we're learning today, but also a success criteria that leads the students into doing the work independently or within their groups, knowing how they're going to be successful. This has been very big because now it takes away the questions of, Coach Whitehead, is this correct? Is this correct? Now they can go to their success criteria and it. Not only here do they recognize that we have so that they can go into the practice session. Like I tell all my kids, with anything that they do in the practice session, they must continue on until they get a satisfactory of I got it before they actually post out. And we're going to compare the data with those. But this moves them through all of the expressions. And what we're doing to kind of make sure that we keep everything in place, we're doing what we consider as a progress monitoring. With the progress monitoring, we keep everything is at place. So with this, we report all the things that we're doing well. Whenever we have mastered a particular concept, then they are to come out here and I need for everyone, whenever that comes out, to look at the data that we have been collecting all 8 classes, not just 6, but 8. Looking at the data, okay? We gotta look at the data. Can anyone tell us what the stickers are meaning on the board? What do stickers mean? Progress. What you say? Mastery. It means that we have mastered something, an assignment that is very important for us to get ready for the milestone. So as you're looking at the data that has been collected throughout all 8 classes, what are some things that you're noticing throughout? Give me some things that you notice that are good. Okay. Anything else you notice? Say it again. There's effort amongst all the classes. There is, okay? Anything else you notice? Just because these are visuals. So we all agree that these represent mastery. We can all recognize when there are much that has been mastered or when there's little things that has been mastered. Few minutes right now doing some milestone review. So these are a few milestone questions of the day. So up front, I'm presenting to you a possible milestone question. I want you to take a few minutes to go ahead and sketch this out and answer what is the perimeter in units of this rectangle. And while you're working, we will play a little music. Remember, we're finding the perimeter.
Wow, to go back and look at that footage just brings me so much joy to see how far I've come teaching at Northeast. So much I've grown, and I'm continuously looking forward to the next time that I can sign up for a PL because I don't know it all, and I'm always eager to learn. As I stated before, and in the presentation for the Teacher of the Year, it's not about me, it's about my students. So if I need another PL to make sure they're successful, sign me up. I'm there. I'm there. As you all know, I am Coach Heavenly Whitehead. I do teach Algebra 1 here at the Northeast High School. And I have the task of taking you through a work session that moves into the closing. Student engagement is very, very important. But before I go there, let me go back here. Because when I saw that, it reminds me of beginning with the end in mind. Planning for the successes and failures. Making sure that the lesson that I have intentionally put together doesn't leave anyone behind. That's big for me. So, come in. Student, as I said earlier, student engagement is very big. And to bring your classroom to life is also bigger. We're all familiar with these electronics. Student response systems, electronic devices that we all commonly use in our classroom to collect data. It's a quick check for understanding. it gives us an idea of who understands, who does not, how many got it correct, how many did not. But that's all it does for me. It doesn't give me everything that I need. I need details. I need details. And the only thing that this can do for me is show me how many got it correct and how many didn't. I need to know, where was her misconceptions? Where did she go wrong? Did she go wrong at the very beginning because she didn't know how to begin setting up the problem? Or was it towards the end because she didn't know how to finish? I need to know, did he get it right because he truly knew how to do it? Or did he look up and click the correct answer? I need more details. I need more detail. And then there's Math 360. Wow, when I was introduced to Math 360, I was joy. I had a joy like never before because I knew I needed the details. So this gives me an opportunity not only to get the immediate feedback, but to see the students engaged, and most importantly, it gives me a chance to truly see how I have deconstructed the standards to meet the needs of the student. Are my verb task alignments in place? And are the students actually performing it? Because the verb means so much in that work session. And are they achieving it? This also gives me an opportunity to see exactly where the misconceptions took place. Here we are in the classroom. We are making sure we're grinding. They have bought into my concept of no one will be left behind. If there's a question to be asked, ask the question. And they understand how the Math 360 works. It's not an isolated event. It's an opportunity for you. If you don't understand, you can look around. Maybe you can get started. But then there's someone that is working diligently and they have given you the, okay, this is how I begin. Maybe I am beginning, but I can't finish. So let me take a look around the classroom. This is truly learning in action. And as the teacher, I'm just strolling through, aggressively monitoring everything that they're doing. Not giving them answers, but giving them clues on how to continuously work during this session here. So Math 360, along with the formative instructional practices, as the students are working, the teacher collects this information. Where the students are right now. How to group the students for the work session based upon observed misconceptions. Remember, at the very beginning, we begin with the end in mind. So we already have something in place for those students that are having those misconceptions. And how to close the gap based on common misconceptions. We gotta close the gap, and we should leave nothing for chance. So, hey, what does a typical day look like in Coach Whitehead's class? Well, the first thing the students does when they walk through the door is they move to a board, and they begin the bell ringer. The bell ringer is done in so many minutes. After the bell ringer, I do give them a milestone question of the day. I want to see how close are we to making sure that we're on board to prepare for the end of the year assessment. From there, we move into the mini lesson, and the mini lesson is guided, but they're still at their boards. They're at their boards while I do the I do. And then we move into the we do, and from there, the you do. And in the midst of all of this, I am aggressively going from board to board. And when I tell you, it is so awesome because everything is at a glance. No more going to the tables, looking to see how many get it right. This is at a glance. And you can give immediate feedback as they're working through the problems. That is so powerful on many levels. So here, As we move into the work session, the students have made sure that they have taken ownership of their learning. Not only do they have the personalized learning that you see at the very bottom, which if the mini lesson wasn't exactly what they could grasp, they have an opportunity to go back and watch videos along with examples of how, and we call those our cornerstones, that they can go and match it with the videos before actually going into to their individual work session. And then when mastery happens, they have an opportunity to go and place the stickers. Now what you see here is an opportunity that we do, and that is list the unit all at once. And as the students progress to build up, to prepare for the unit assessment, they know exactly where they're at and where they need to be before the unit test is given. How does this work? When I go back and I thought about this very closely, I said this is a Math 360 class, and it has a 360 learning environment. First, we start with Mr. Thomas telling us how he opens up with his students, getting them to buy in, what are we learning today, and how we're gonna make it happen. Then we move into the assessments with Ms. Harper. And with Ms. Harper, she is aggressively monitoring and she slowly releases them into the work session. And then I'm coming through here with my work session, which goes into a closing where the students have to take ownership of their learning for what we originally started out with. And that is, what are we learning today? Thank you all for this opportunity. This has been a great experience for me.
Thank you, Coach Whitehead. No wonder she's the teacher of the year right here at Northeast High School this year. She's the teacher of the year this year, and she was the teacher of the year 2 years ago. I had the awesome opportunity of actually working with Coach Whitehead. I'm gonna take a little credit. That was one of my hires. That was a proud hire as a basketball coach and as an Algebra 1 teacher. Not too many of you all can hire a head basketball coach that goes to the Final Four and a math Algebra 1 teacher teaching like that. Yeah, it's awesome, awesome. But I just want to show you, she talked about those 3 questions. And as you go through your day, those are the questions that your student need to answer. If you're thinking about FIP, if you're thinking about the hashtag daily evidence, where are we now? Where do we want to go? And how do we close the gap? And this process that all 3 of these teachers have taken you to answers that. Now, last but not least, I have a principal coming up. I have Ms. Lashun Crawford, data analysis. It's not just, this is a phenomenal example. You will hear of a principal who's leading the data talk. Not the individual teacher. The principal is leading this school-wide data talk. When COVID hit, this has created another phenomenal opportunity because now she's still using Teams, she's still using technology to drive school-wide data talks in an elementary school. So with that being said, we're going to allow Ms. Crawford to talk to you a little bit about how she does that in her school.
All right, thank you, thank you. I am so honored to be with you today. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for giving me this opportunity to present with you for the 2nd time. And also, you all have done a great job setting this up for me. So thank you. I am the proud principal of Union Elementary School, where we are shining stars. And I do want to begin by saying the art of education, as you can see and have witnessed, it is a team effort. It is truly a team effort. You have to be intentional on professional learning communities, and I am huge on accountability. We are hashtag daily evidence. So if you all have already heard about professional learning communities, those 4 questions that drive the work of a PLC, you can see those displayed on the screen, but we want to ask, how are you meeting that need or providing that PLC feeling for your students? So we talk about being hashtag daily evidence. So this is where we have that accountability piece. And when we speak of accountability, we're talking about not just the teachers, not just admin, but also the students. And as a principal, and when you have your team, your academic coaches, we do those classroom observations, and I'm sure some of you, or most of you, have heard Marva Collins, her quote, "Inspect what you expect." And that's exactly what we do at Union Elementary. We also implement data talks. The teachers in the classroom, they conduct data talks, but I, as the lead, I want to make sure that I'm setting the example of what needs to be said in those data talks when I have that opportunity to talk. And as you can see, it allows teachers and students to share, but then also they get to reflect. And that is huge. When you get someone to reflect on the good, the bad, all of it, it moves to a different level. And also, my boys and girls and my staff know I love to celebrate. I celebrate just about everything. So what we do is we highlight the team effort. So when we're talking about a PLC, we're talking about those team efforts and all of the successes, small or large. We begin each of our data talks with what we believe, and that's our vision. Our district in Bibb County, our vision is each student will demonstrate strength of character and will be college or career ready. And so when we do those data talks and hold each other accountable, we're making sure that we are ensuring our students will be college or career ready. We talk about the purpose for assessments. And we all know we want our students to do well on the Georgia milestones or that big test at the end of the year. But we make sure that we're having our students to understand it's not about just that big test. It's about assessing your reading skills. When we take a reading assessment, it's about assessing your reading skills, your math skills, and also your writing skills. It's to measure the growth during the school year. It's not about just that main test. It's about how are you performing. And so what I would like to do here is just share a little bit about the data talk. I'm going to go back to this. This right here is a data talk with students that was held on March 31st. I've conducted these data talks, like Mr. Jones said, they're virtual, and we do this with our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. And they all, the teachers get the join link, and they all are ready, and before they join, they have to have their data notebook, their assessment that we're getting ready to look at, because it's different data pieces during the year, but this one is our universal screen of we have STAR, so that was the one that they would have to have. They would have to also have a highlighter, and they have to have a pencil. So with that, along with my academic coach, when I say it's a team effort, I'm leading it, but I'm not doing it alone. The teachers, you'll see a couple of pictures where the teachers are actually monitoring and providing that immediate feedback to those students. So we begin our data talks with that vision, and this is just some of the slides that I included from my data talks. And we talk about the purpose, so I'm on teams, letting the students know it is about assessing your reading skills. We need to know where you are, so when we put you in those groups, you would know, hey, I need a little more with details, or hey, I need a little more with my number sense. I asked the question, and you know, I just stated that I believe in reflecting. How well did you perform in reading? That's what I asked. They had that STAR diagnostic report. Here you can see we reviewed the fall, the winter, and by being March 31st, the spring is the one we're looking at here. We focus on the date, where they have to circle the date, so we can make sure that they're on the right assessment. Also, we look at the performance bar on the graph. We look at the grade equivalent. We look at that time duration. That is huge. So when I'm leading this piece, they have to circle, they have to highlight all of these components, and here's a copy of the assessment that they will have. This is a copy of a student assessment. And so when we look at that grade equivalent, if you're 4th grade and your grade equivalent is 2nd grade, that's your data. You have to own that. And so we also make sure they're circling that time duration. Look at that, your bar graph, and to see where did you land. And look at also your time duration. If you only took 7 minutes, maybe if you would have used a little more time, you would have spent a little, your bar graph would have moved, and we talk about that. And we make sure our students understand the importance of highlighting, and then, oh, let me go back. This is the key. Identify 2 actions you will take to prepare for the milestones. This is where I tell them they're not to write, they're only to think. They have to think about 2 things. If it was reading, we also do this same protocol with math. So if it's reading, they have to think and identify 2 actions you would take to prepare for the milestones. And after they have that time to think, I have them to write those 2 actions on their assessment, and then they get a chance to share those out. If they want to share, the teachers, they'll unmute, and then they will allow students to share with their peers virtually of what would they do and all, and that gives those other students who may have thought, I don't really know what to think, I don't know what to write. They get a chance to hear others, and that gives them some ideas. So as let me go back. Celebrations. As I shared, we celebrate everything. And during our data talk, we talk about what categories will they be able to come to celebrate. Whether it's the STAR reading, they have to do proficient and distinguished, STAR math, and then we have a STAR growth. Those students who are not your A students, who will not be proficient, but if they have shown 45% or more on that reading and also on math, they'll get a chance to join that celebration. And then we also have an I rating with the criteria of 85% or more, as well as the queer writing, 70% or more. So those are the categories that those students know I'm working toward coming to those celebrations. They love it. So we are hashtag evidence every day. This is just a little snippet of what the data talk process looks like. You would see that's me in the copy of the slide, and then these are the classrooms where the teachers are walking around, facilitating, providing that immediate feedback. They are allowing the students to reflect with them. They are able to know, all right, my A students, how well did you do? They get a chance also, I forgot to say, they also get a chance to put a happy face, a sad face, or a straight face on whatever they circle. If they look at that grade equivalent and that's not what they really think they should be, they may give themselves a sad face. And then we talk about that when I come around. Mr. Jones has also had an opportunity to come around and talk to those students also. Also, as you know, I'm big on reflection. I allowed my teachers to provide me feedback from the data talk. And just a few, since I really enjoyed the data talk with students because they got to see their progress and take ownership in their own learning. This is a feedback from the teachers. The data talk session today piqued students' curiosity and encouraged question action. It was an eye-opening experience for the students to actually see their data and fully understand the data. In closing, I just want to leave with you that in order for us to maximize Tier 1 instruction, it is a team effort. We have to realize it is the art of education. We must be an effective PLC. We must hold our teachers and students accountable for their data. We must be hashtag daily evidence. Thank you.
And you all, this is a first-year principal. A first-year principal. It's awesome going to her school. I mean, when I walked into that 3rd grade classroom, and I saw students. Every student in the school had 2 highlighters. Students had smiley faces or stickers, emojis, and students were looking at their data as the principal was in her office walking kids through examining their data. Students were highlighting strengths and weaknesses. Students were putting smiley faces on what they felt, the reflection on their work. Students had to provide a reflection of where they want to go. What are they going to do to improve? If I had to go back into a school and be principal, that is one thing that I would definitely take with me. It's awesome. As we move on, as we conclude, we're at the end of our session. One thing Coach Whitehead talked to you about was successes and failures. When you think about hashtag daily evidence, I want you to think about something. As you're preparing your lessons, there are is no way you should prepare one lesson for every student to be successful, and that's it. You know that every day that you meet with students, there are going to be misconceptions in your lesson. You don't wait for them to fail. You don't wait for them to have the misconception. You already predetermine what the misconceptions should be, and you prepare lessons for that at that time. You're preparing lessons for students to move on that have been successful. When students have failed different areas, you have already manufactured and prepared a lesson for where students are going to go that fail below the line. Coach Whitehead does that. She models that. Successes and failures, that's a major part of what we do. Another thing, another self-reflection I want you to have, or think about, rate our students. As you're developing your list, when your students come back in, it's very important that you know students that are already distinguished, proficient, developing, and beginning. I need you to know who they are. Why is that so important? There's no way that you can teach distinguished level students if you have not identified them. You need to know which students are working towards a distinguished status before March and April gets here. Distinguished level students that are already leaving you this year, going into the next grade level, when they step into your school next year, they already need to know, hey, you may be moving a little faster than other students. Why? Because you've already shown me that you're a distinguished level learner. If you're a proficient learner that was close to being distinguished, you will be moving at a faster rate. That means we have to plan for the instruction for those students. We can't just keep creating the same lesson for all students. We move our school off the state's designated list when we begin to find out where our students are and provide the personalized learning for them. Now, I'm not saying that a beginning level learner won't stay in beginning level, but they better have more growth than everybody in the state. As we join together here in Bibb County and DeKalb County, let's take over the state of Georgia. Let's have more growth and more progress than any other districts in the state of Georgia. We can move kids. We can make it happen, and that's the plan to make it happen. Now, as you do that, this last thing, we do talk about MTSS for teachers. You got to find out where you are. Remember, growth mindset. You need to find out if you're a Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 teacher. You need to find out what you need to do to grow. You need to find out what it is to make sure that you are a turnaround educator. Tier yourself. Ask your principals to teach you. Seek for the help. Going with the growth mindset. And as I leave you with this is our lunch. You know, I'm speaking on behalf of not just the team, but Dr. Curtis L. Jones, that's the 2019 National Superintendent of the Year, our superintendent right here. As I leave you with our lunch, think on this. There are $15 billion worth of unused gift cards. In the world right now is reported approximately $15 billion worth of unused gift cards right now. The data said it represents over 51% of the entire population. It represents an average of about $116 to each person. Why am I saying that? Because I want to launch you with this. Sometimes we're riding, going to stores, looking in the crevice of the seats, trying to find change to get a cheeseburger. We're going back trying to find out, and we already have the gift cards. I want you to know that what you need, you already have. My religious belief lets me know I already have what I need. We already have what we need to make it. You don't have to keep looking. Use what you have. Let's get this partnership going. We have what we need. Let's sit there and believe it. Let's take ownership. Hashtag daily evidence. We will win. And we'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Johnson. And we put a link in the chat. We put a link in the chat, Ms. Johnson, just to get some information, feedback from the team. There's a link in the chat from Dr. Coombs.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you, Ms. Harper. Thank you, Coach Whitehead.